Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of El Local Podcast 831. I am your host, Eddie Gonzalez, and today we got Hollister's prodigy, Young Glitch. What's
Ooh,
up, man?
like that intro, man.
There
Hey,
you
thank
go.
you for having me, man.
Thank you for coming on. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. I mean, despite a little traffic this morning, but other
Yeah.
than that,
Yeah, like I was
Solid.
saying, I kind of had a little late start to myself,
yeah,
allergies.
Yeah.
It's like the season for allergies right now.
right, yeah.
When it's cold, my allergies like kick my ass.
Oh no, yeah. Especially in Hollister, man. Woke up, eyes all itchy. I'm like, I hate this.
Yeah. So right off the back, your name is unique, and so I want to touch on that, Young Glitch. Where and how did you get that name?
Okay, so how I got the name, I'm gonna be so for real. I was like in high school. It was like my senior year. I was just kicking it with a homie of mine. We were like just smoking the night before, and the next day I woke up, one of those highs where like you kind of still feel high the next day. Like
Yeah.
it was one of those tips. So me and my friends used to do this thing where we take any random word and we put Lil or Young in front of it, and then for some reason when I woke up, the first word that popped in my head was the word glitch, and then I was like messing around. I was like, oh, like Lil Glitch, and I was like, or like Young Glitch, and then I was like low key like, wait, that sounds kind of hard. And the meaning didn't come to me until after, because if you look up the definition of the word glitch, it's like malfunction or like error in the system. And I felt like in some like twisted way that kind of described how I felt ever since I was young, because feeling alienated and outcasted because of the things that you're into are a lot differently from your peers, you know what I mean? Interests, hobbies, and the things that you want to learn about, the stuff that I was into was a lot different from the other kids my age. So I was like, you know what? Because I could relate to that meaning, I could relate to that definition, and I low-key like the way it sounds, I was like, I'm gonna stick with it. But it honestly took me a few hours from me sitting on it, and then I was like, all right, bet, like,
Okay.
I think I'm gonna rock with this, because I was like going back and forth, because my name at the time, I had a few rap names before I landed on Glitch. It was like, at first it was just Ray, then it was like Ray spelled R-E-Y, R-A-Y, and so it was like King Ray, like in the speaking.
Yeah.
But and then after that it was Young Glitch, and I was like, all right, I'll rock with this.
Yeah, because that's Glitch. Like that's it almost, like I said, it's unique.
Yeah.
And it kind of it sticks to you.
Yeah.
You know, when you hear it. You know, like when I first came across your profile, I was like, Young, like trying to spell like what is it? And then someone's like, oh yeah, this is Young Glitch, Glitch. I go, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so like I said, very unique, very a good way to kind of stand out.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
In the rap business, hip hop business. So you are a rapper.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, and you're from Hollister, San Benito County.
Born and raised. Yeah.
Born and raised. And so Hollister is not necessarily, I wouldn't say hip hop friendly, but it ain't the scene for hip hop rap.
Yeah,
it's
for
more
sure.
kind of like country.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, you go out there, you got a lot of trucks, you got a lot of boots. You
Yeah.
know.
All the troca fools.
Yeah, it's out in the boonies out there.
Yeah.
I got family out there. It's a great place. But take me through growing up in Hollister. You're the first person that I brought on that's from Hollister.
Hey, right
And
on.
so I kind of grew up a little bit over there, but visiting family.
Yeah.
But you being, raised there, born there, kind of talk me through like what it's like growing up in Hollister.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. I mean, I feel like everybody's, experiences is a lot differently in Hollister. My experience personally growing up in Hollister, I grew up around more, I grew up a little bit more around the homies and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So, like, my brother, my brother Rich and everything like that, and my oldest brother Rob, like, I had different influences and, like, a different kind of a background, different kind of experiences growing up. So, for me, growing up in Hollister, it was chill. It was like a regular childhood, and every now and then, I was getting into, like, little, like, badass kid stuff, you know what I mean? But because of my influences and everything and the things that I saw, like, that was more so, like, what I wanted to do, like, from an early age, like, before music ever came into a play, before I ever decided that that's something that I wanted to do, because music, I wasn't really, like, it wasn't engraved in my head, and I didn't, like, know that I really wanted to do this until I was, like, 8 years old. So by the time I was 8 years old, I already knew what I wanted to do with my life, but before then, I was, like, actively, like, trying to, like, I was just doing little dumbass stuff, so I was like, you know what, like, let me calm down, because certain experiences, showed me, okay, maybe this isn't the route that I want to be taking, you know what I mean? Like, get into run-ins with the law and stuff like that. I was like, all right, let me like, simmer down before I really get myself in trouble and put myself in a position I really don't want to be in. So it was cool. Just the stuff that I got caught up with at an early age and the things that I was like kind of introduced to and stuff like that. It wasn't like, it wasn't the most healthy, you know,
Yeah,
for a kid to grow up in that environment. But I mean, growing up in Hollister, period, I mean, despite that, you know, like despite my experience, like it's still a very beautiful place, and it's not like Hollister, you know, it got its active parts, but it's not all that either. You know what I mean? It's a very beautiful city that has it's very strong and rich in its community.
And it's very quiet.
Yeah,
Like that's
very
what I
quiet,
love about it. Yeah.
And I love Hollister for that too, because don't get me wrong, like going out and doing shows and like, you know, because my career now calls me to be like more outside, but I love coming back home to Hollister because I'm able to just kind of like relax and like take that load off mentally, you know what I mean, and just allow myself to immerse and just go outside for walks and like, you know, just kind of enjoy the scenery and stuff like that. Like it's a cool vibe. So I mean, growing up in Hollister, I mean, it was pretty regular.
Yeah. So you would say, you know, at a young age, music kind of saved your life.
Oh, absolutely. Plenty of times.
So
Like
at
over
8
and
years
over.
old. So take me through, like, at what moment were you just like, do music? Like, that's my thing.
Yeah.
Or was it at the time the hip hop scene, like music that kind of like caught your attention and like, dude, I want to do this? Or was it kind of like you were introduced slowly into it?
Yeah, so actually, I mean, growing up, I mean, you know, like everybody else, you know, music is something that's always around, and you know, that's an early influence from an early age. You know what I mean? So, for me, I got introduced to hip hop from my mom and like, you know, my older brother Rich, my oldest brother Rob. I mean, he likes hip hop too, but he's more of like a rock head, so he's more into like Metallica, AC/DC, Slipknot, you know, like the more heavy metal, like real rock stuff. So I had plenty of different influences, and you know, my brother Rich was more Bay Area influence when it comes to hip hop. You know, Andre Nicotina, Jay Stalin, you know, obviously Mac Dre and whatnot, Messy Marv. You feel me? And my mom introduced me to more of like what was popping at the time. You know, early 2000s. That was like Timbaland, Busta Rhymes, Eminem, NWA. You know what I mean? And so like, and those influences definitely kind of caught my attention in terms of like music and everything. So when I heard those, I was like, oh, this is lit. But I didn't really think too much of it at the time. What really kind of got me started into it was there was this friend that I had in elementary school. His name is Anthony. And him and I used to like freestyle in elementary school by the time I was like in like 3rd grade. And he was a grade above me. And it was just one day random. He was like, hey, like, you know how to rap? And I was like, nah. I'm like, I mean, I listen to it, but like, I don't know how to do it. He's like, bro, it's easy. It's like, you're just rhyming words. Like, just try it. And I was like, all right, bet. And then like, he gave me like a little example. He was like, this is the one like little verse that like I always remember. And it's something that he came up with just randomly off the top freestyle. And he was like, I'm riding around in a Mercedes with ladies in their 80s. I was like, oh shit. I was like, that's lit. I'm like, word up. And then so I was like, all right, like, let me give it a try. And like, because he, like I said, he was a grade older than me. So I low-key became like that little brother that like from then on, every day I was like, yo, you want to rap? Like, let's freestyle, like whatever. It got to a point where he was like, yo, he's like, I don't want to rap, but I'll listen to you rap. Like, go ahead, like spit your bars. And so like, I remember at the time I downloaded like these little like beat apps on my phone. And then I would just have like loops playing, and then I would just like freestyle. And then I slowly started getting into writing because I was like, I like what I'm saying, but I want to remember it. So I was like, okay, let me like try to write it down. And so then I got myself a little composition notebook from my backpack that I never used for school, that I was supposed to be using for school, but I was like, I'm gonna use this for raps really quick. So I started jotting down like some of the ideas that I had, and then I would listen back to the beat that I was like writing to, and then I was just like writing like that. And then that's kind of what started the snowball effect of like, yo, I love to make music, like I love to write, you know what I mean? Because writing overall, I would say definitely saved my life, because I've loved writing poetry. I love writing, you know, music, and I definitely love like, now I'm getting more into like different styles of writing, you know what I mean? More creative writing, like little like stories and stuff like that. And but yeah, you hit it right on the note for sure. Music definitely saved my life plenty of times.
And I mean, I can remember. I mean, I think everyone's always. I think everyone at one point had that. Hey, let's start rhyming. Let's start rapping, like in elementary. And I kind of remember that too, growing up. Like, you're just like, hey, like, because you know, at elementary they kind of teach you a little bit of poetry and all that. And then so like you'd be out at recess, like, hey, like, you know, start rhyming, rapping. And so I remember that's funny because it takes me back. To elementary, kind of those moments too. Or, full disclosure, I kind of tried to be a little rapper one time.
Oh, well, for real?
I tried, but you know, I just can't rhyme.
What do you mean you can't rhyme?
I just can't rhyme. Like, okay, so yeah, you can rhyme, like, you know, red, Ted, fed, like all these like, you know, words. Like, it's there, but like to sit down and try to like, you know, write something. Now I even tried like, you know, rapping writing a song for a girl in high school.
Okay.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
it didn't work out. So it was a one and done.
Did she ever hear it?
No, heck no. I don't even think she knew I was alive.
You were just in the corner,
I was
just looking
there,
at her, just like, oh, she's gonna love
she's
this.
pretty, yeah.
Just like, love the way your hair falls. She looks at you your way, you're like, oh shit.
Like, who are you again?
Yeah.
I sit behind you in the third period. No, I was like, nah, I don't know.
I let you borrow a pencil, you know.
Like the rom-com movies.
No, yeah. Oh, that's right on, man. Well, wait, so like, okay, but you can clearly write though.
Oh yeah, I can write. So
yeah.
and it's very cool because I've never, because you kind of talk about writing, right? You started writing, and you fall in love with it. In the past like 6 months, I mean, I had an interview with Esme, who was a poet.
Okay.
And we kind of talked a little bit about poetry and writing down.
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
And then like before that, and even after that, I started writing. Just kind of feeling, just kind of like, you know, they say that writing down what you feel or whatever, you know, just kind of just journaling, right?
Yeah.
And dude, it's such a relieving feeling to
absolutely.
write down. So I could only imagine when you're trying to explore, right, storytelling, right, and you know, searching within yourself how you feel and how, you know, your life experiences, how it could be, I mean, a release, but like that's not the way I want to say it, but just like a release, you know, of just expression of who you are.
Absolutely, yeah, that raw emotion for sure. And especially I think, you know, by the grace of God, I was able to fall in love with something like as beautiful as a release of that, you know what I mean? Because the other things I was doing at the time to release certain emotions, you know what I mean, it was a lot more different, you know. I feel like growing up as a kid, I definitely had a lot of anger in me because of like the background that I came from. You know, I grew up single mother household, you know what I mean? Trying to find like some level of guidance and like male figure to confide in, you know what I mean? Because at that tender of an age, you know, you're trying to, I mean, you're always learning new things about yourself, but I feel like at that age, I was definitely, my mental was a little bit more different, you know, from the kids around me. I feel like I was maturing a little bit more at a different pace, you know, and that in and of itself can make you feel alienated a little bit, you know what I mean? So when I was trying to figure out, you know, certain things and trying to like, you know, act right, like it was hard for me too. It was like a little pit bull, like you're trying to get him on a leash, but it's like you can't, because it's like, who's gonna tell me no? Like, you know what I mean? But it's like I didn't have that figure in my life to be like, you know, like, hey, like that ain't the way. Except I take that back. Not that I didn't have it, but I didn't have it in the form of a father, you know what I mean? Because my brothers definitely played that father, you know, figure for me as well. And, you know, we had each other to lean on, you know, and that's something that I'm always forever grateful for, you know, especially, I mean, my oldest brother, Rob, most definitely, you know, he put me up on game, but my older brother, Rich, he definitely put me up on, like, way more game and, like, really gave me, like, the hard, cold truth on, like, you know, the way things are and stuff like that. And anytime I was out of line, like, you know, like, we hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
And I love that, you know what I mean? And I'm blessed to have that dynamic, you know, whether that's from a legitimate father or that's from just my brothers. And obviously my mother, you know, did the very best that she could. And, you know, I say she did a hell of a job if I do say so myself.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And I think that's important because as men, right, having that figure is important. And similar in my way where kind of opposite, I didn't have a mother. I mean, I had a mom, but like she was never in the picture. So like I didn't have that figure, but in ways there were women that filled that role in certain times in my life, throughout my life, even now. Like, so I'm sure it's similar like that. You got your brothers, and then as you got older, there's other men that you maybe have looked up to that kind of gave you that example.
Oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so talk about the importance of that, but also like, if you don't mind, kind of like the struggle of not having that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, for sure. I mean, man, my experience with that, you know, you don't learn, you know, certain things or how to cope, you know, with certain realities of life in a more healthier manner. You know, to be fair, you know, the type of man that, you know, my biological father was, I mean, he wasn't necessarily no saint either. You know, that was definitely, you know, my mom had pulled us away from that environment, you know, out of protection, you know what I mean? Because my father was a lot more violent, you know, like way more violent. And he was like that even just sober. You know, that was just his personality, character, you know what I mean? So I was like, you know what? From an early age before, when I didn't understand, all I knew from that age was like, my dad ain't around, and that hurts, and I don't like the way that feels, you know. But as I get a little bit older, I grow to the understanding of knowing a little bit more as to who he was, why it's probably better that he isn't in the picture.
Yeah.
And at some point I reached that age of acceptance where I'm like, you know what, Mom, you're right. You know, because for a while I definitely had like a little bit of resentment, you know, like, and not even necessarily towards my mother. I just had that resentment at the world. I'm like, why is this my hand of cards? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I feel like a majority of my childhood was trying to, you know, not only come to terms with, but also understanding, you know, as to why this is the card that I was dealt. You know what I mean? Because as I'm older now, I understand that there's a lot of people who become parents who don't necessarily deserve their children, but every child deserves both parents. You know what I mean? And I definitely say that was my case for sure. It's like, okay, it wasn't anything that had to do with me, but part of the struggle growing up with that is, like I said, like my temperament grew out of control. My mom could only do so much to kind of keep me on that leash. You know what I mean? Until like another male role model really had to step in and like sit me down and like, you know, give me the real, like my brothers, you know what I mean? Because they already saw more or less like where I was headed to.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I was talking about at an early age is not something you want to hear like your 8-year-old little brother talk about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like off rip, that made it known for my brothers, like, hey, like, we get you're upset, we get you're angry, because we're right here with you. You know what I mean? And like we're in this together. So it's like you're not alone in that. But you know, it definitely took a huge impact on my mental, emotional, and like even just like my self perspective. You know, my confidence was like very, very low, because it was like I felt like I didn't have what I needed to in order to like be successful. I felt like already from an early age, like it was a little bit of pushback, a little bit of, you know, like on me. And so it's like, and then, you know, as we get older, you know, there are certain moments still where I'm like, you know, you're not here for certain moments, and it's like it's very not even very beneficial. Like it would be awesome if you were here for. You know what I mean? Because as I'm getting older, you know, like my older brother Rich, like, you know, he's having kids now. It's like you're not there to see or experience the growth of my niece and my nephew.
Yeah.
You weren't there to experience, you know, not one of my birthdays. The only time that I ever met this man was at, you know, his mom's funeral, my grandmother's funeral. And that was the first time in about 14 years. And then that was like one of the last times I spoke. I've only seen and spoke to this man probably like less than a handful of times, like twice, like 2 conversations. So growing up, that definitely put a little more chip on my shoulder, and it made me look at the world like with a lot more hostility, because I was like, you know what? It was a weird perspective that I had at that age too, because I would look at other kids that actually had really cool relationships, like with their fathers, that just had fathers, period. And I would envy that. Like I would really envy that, Eddie. Like I was like really against that, because I didn't have that. And no matter how bad I wanted it, I couldn't have that. But it also, as I got older, made me realize, you know what? Appreciate what I do have, you know, because despite a lot of people having something that I feel that I may want, I don't see behind closed doors what that person is like. I don't see exactly what those conversations that they're having, but I know the types of conversations that I would be having if this quote unquote father was in my life. Yeah. So for the betterment of me and my family, maybe it is for the right, you know, that he's out the picture. And so, but yeah, huge chip on my shoulder, a lot of resentment for sure, and a lot of pain that I held on to from an early age. And, you know, that's something that I definitely had to work past for sure.
And when it comes to music, how does that play a role into your music early on and even now?
Honestly, my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go for it.
Okay, yeah, so like I grew up, like I said, listening to people like NWA. Ice Cube was a huge inspiration for me, and still like one of the more bigger inspirations for sure. And one thing I loved about Ice Cube and his writing style was the subject matter, and you know how raw and in depth that he went into things that most people were uncomfortable to say, or that didn't, you know, have the right words to say. And so from an early age, what went from just a hobby went from something that I would actually utilize to like dive more deeper into my story. I was like, you know what if I rap about, you know, certain subject matters, like what it's like to grow up without a father, what that absence causes, you know, for a kid. And like, what if I write about some of the struggles that I'm seeing with my family? What if I write about like just certain things that I'm experiencing, certain things that I'm witnessing? And I didn't realize, but at an early age, that was allowing me to like heal from it in a way more of a different way than any other teacher or, you know, somewhat of a counselor tried to like, you know, get me to understand, because, you know, kids are very emotional beings, you know what I mean? And they're definitely emotionally intelligent as well. So you kind of can't force a child out of their feelings, but you can definitely introduce them to new
Outlets.
new outlets for sure to be able to express themselves. And so my best friend at the time, you know, like definitely showed me like the biggest outlet that have definitely like saved my life again, like over and over again for sure. Cause like I said, like, that was something that definitely played into moments where I, you know, was a lot more down and I was dealing with moments of depression and stuff like that too, like, you know, growing up. So it's like being able to have that sort of an outlet where I was just able to simply write and let my feelings out and really say how I felt without any fear of judgment, any fear of like rejection, anything like that. I was just able to simply be myself to the fullest and rawest extent. That, you know, definitely played a huge part. Music definitely played a huge part in allowing me to release and let go of a lot of things that were out of my control for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. That's awesome. And you kind of kind of spoke a little bit, right, before we started recording, how I told you what I did for a living, you know, working in special education. You kind of mentioned you did that too, and you kind of taught kids how to like write how they felt and all that. So kind of you used your what helped you cope and what helped you release emotions and feelings. You taught others. Yeah. And so that's pretty cool. Yeah. And so kind of talk about that part of your life and what got you into that, and also, what got you into that?
Yeah, man. So I mean, I got this uncle who owns his own company. It's called like These Mo Hip Hop Productions. You know what I mean? And they teach kids with special needs how to do like different types of dances. You know, they have tumbling, they have hip hop, they have contemporary. It's cool. And under that umbrella, I was able to, you know, start my own like hip hop creative writing class. My uncle pitched me with the idea when I was like 14. First, it started off with just like, hey, like, you know, like come do a couple like performances with us. And then it went from like, hey, like, what if like you went from performing to like teaching these kids like how to rap? And I was like, well, I thought about it, but you know, at the time, again, I was like 15, like, you know, when he pitched that idea to me. So I was like, well, like, I just want to make sure I do it right. You know, like I want to make sure that I handle it with like enough care. Like I was nervous for sure because that's a very delicate thing for me. So I'm like, you know what, let me make sure I do it right. And he was like, you know what? He's like, I think you got it. He's like, let's just try it. Yeah. See how you like it. And, you know, from there on and there forth, like I just fell in love with it, you know, like from that first day, being able to teach something that like I was very passionate about and seeing the look on like these kids' faces, like I say kids, but like their age range is very wide, like, you know, but seeing the look on their faces and of how proud that they get and like that like full feeling of like them being able to express themselves in a way that like makes sense to others, because even some of these like, you know, people's parents, like they obviously can kind of get a gauge as to how their child must feel dealing with a certain disability. But when you hear it from the horse's mouth of like, hey, like, this is how this makes me feel. Like at times I do feel this way and I don't want to voice it, or I don't know how to, you know, express that. Seeing those people be able to utilize such a beautiful blessing as like music to be able to like, you know, express themselves and get through to people in a unique way, like that always like chokes me up and like, you know, brought me to tears. And matter of fact, so that's how I got started. Just my, again, like my uncle with his company and, you know, pitched me the idea. I gave it a try. I fell in love with it, but it was beautiful because as of recently, there was a event that I went to. It was out in Gilroy at the Clove Art Center, or it was Motif Coffee Shop, I think. Yeah, Motif in Gilroy, California. And I saw one of my students there, and his name is Josiah, and I saw him like rap on his own, and it was like an open mic kind of event.
Nice.
So what that shows me is that like beyond what I taught, like they're using that like, you know, for themselves, and I'm like, that's beautiful. Like I literally like shed like some tears for sure. I like anybody that was with me will tell you that firsthand. Like I saw that, I started shedding tears because it was like going from seeing how, you know, soft spoken or like, you know, more reserved like these kids were to like seeing them really like fly and prosper, like that always like chokes me up for sure. Yeah. So like that always leaves a full feeling in my heart, and I love that, and then I love being able to experience that. It was the biggest blessing for sure.
Yeah, just another way of how music and just writing, could just liberate someone. Yeah, you know, and just I could imagine how that felt. Yeah, you know, again, because working in special ed and these moments of triumph for these kids, it just makes everything that you do worthwhile. And again, I feel like it's another way of how music saved your life.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that is super cool. That is a great story to hear. And so you're growing up. You did some teaching. You're trying to find your way. You know what you want to do. You want to get into the rapping game. You want to hip hop, and you're writing, and you're doing all that. At what point? Well, before I get into that, in Hollister, when you started doing that, what was that reception like with friends, the community? Did you kind of start doing some shows, open mics out there?
Yeah. Shoot, the reception, honestly, like, shout out to my day ones, Joseph, Jada, and Kande, for sure. Those are like Joseph and Candelario. Those have been like my best friends since like elementary. Those are my day one brothers. Like literally, TK in like elementary and like beyond. So like 10 plus years, man. And then Jada, I met her like around like middle school and stuff. So like amongst like my closer friends, like they were always supportive of it. You know what I mean? Joseph first like knew like, okay, like you're my homie, like you're rapping, like, all right, cool, like and he would be right there with me, like listening to like the bars that I was spit. And like even when I was like in elementary, and it's like they weren't the best at the time, but I thought it was dope, so it's like whatever. The reception overall, like I always had like people kind of take an interest to like something that I was like saying or like just whatever, because even in school I would do little rap battles, and coming up in like just school, there would be kids that would like want to pay me like to freestyle for lunch, or like
no way.
And I would do rap battles with other kids, and like they would be like, yo, like I got money on you, like like I'm betting on you. I'm like, are you sure you want to bet like your lunch money right now? I'm like, I could lose this easy, but I'm like, you know what? Like, all right, let's do it. So like, doing little rap battles, doing little like freestyles and stuff like that. And I have this other homie, Noe. Shout out Noe too. He's a great drummer, like one of the best drummers in Hollister, the best drummer in Hollister. I will stand on that. But him and I used to like, he would like beatbox for me or like make a beat for me, and then like I would just like freestyle, and that was like in middle school. And like eventually there would be like people just passing by that would stop, and like there would be like a full circle formed us by the end of it, and that would be like before school started or during break or whatever. So the reception, I feel like, has always been like positive, and especially even amongst family, because I know there's a lot of people out there who, have different dynamics with their families, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time for, people to come around and to kind of fully understand. And don't get me wrong, my family was the same way. Like I said, like I remember being 8 years old and telling my mom, like, I know what I want to do with my life. And she was like, what is it? And I was like, I'm going to be a rapper. Like, I didn't say I want to be, I said, I'm going to be a rapper. And she was just like, okay, like that sounds, you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, all right. And I was like, but I was just that driven and dedicated from like 8 years old to be like, you know what, like this is what I'm going to do, like. And then I just went for it. And then I started putting myself out there more around the age of like 13. I would have like these little Instagram videos that I posted of myself and everything like that. And even for like the small amount of following that I had at that time, like it was like getting like a lot of love. And I was like, I was very like shocked, because I always considered myself a little bit more of like reserved, for sure. I never really considered myself like the popular type, so I didn't think nothing of it. Like I didn't think anybody really was gonna see it. But then friends of friends and other mutuals and stuff like that, just word started getting out there more, and people were like, hey, like this is actually really good. And I was just like, wow. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, so this kind of solidifies like what I said from like an early age. I was like, all right. So the reception has always been pretty positive, for sure.
No, that's great. And so, kind of, are you you're coming up, right? Yeah. So like you're coming up little by little, and you're putting in the work. And so, is there a big rap scene in Hollister? Or are you just like the only one that's kind of coming up, or is there?
No, honestly, you know what? It's the rap scene in Hollister. It's growing, and I don't mean to toot my horn, but I'm about to give a lot of shout outs right now, man. And no disrespect to anybody that I don't shout out. I just wanna mention that. Shout out to my team, Black Bonsai. Shout out to Death Reserves. Shout out to out the 8 through 1. Shout out to Underdogs. You know what I mean? Danny V, Roscoe, Arso, Iron Chef. Alden, like the whole Underdogs team. But out of Hollister, for sure, it's like Black Bonsai, Death Reserves, and there's obviously like I said, there's a few more, and there's a lot more people coming up. But I definitely feel, personally speaking, I definitely feel like I paved the way, and I'm still paving it for like different routes to be taken in my city, and I'm not really trying to toot my own horn, but I mean, definitely not just me, but also the people that I'm around. You know, like we're working to pave that way for other people who want to do this sort of a thing in Hollister, to really show them like it is possible and it doesn't matter where you come from.
Yeah.
And like, despite Hollister being known for being a little bit more out in the boonies and more country, country, you know, a little bit more talk out for it. Like, like despite that, like we got that little influence too. We got that swag too, and you know, we got to lock down. Oh yeah, also shout out to the homie Lil Greg for surely. That's like, okay, Lil Greg is the first artist out of Hollister that ever showed me love. So shout out to him. Shout out to Dope Boy Shop for surely, and you know, all that. And yeah, I would say as of right now, like it's definitely just me and the people around me that's, you know, paving that lane. But there's obviously been people beforehand too.
Yeah.
Like I said, like Lil Greg and a lot more other artists that have like, you know, showed other people in Hollister like you can make it on like certain platforms and you can work with certain people and you can shed light, you know, from where you're from, regardless of, you know, what you got going on, as long as you're doing it right. Yeah. You know, and so I definitely pride myself in like, you know, the blueprints and, you know, and take inspiration from the other people in my city and giving the flowers where they're due, you know what I mean? Because obviously before us, there was somebody, you know, and there are other people. But as of right now, you know, I definitely feel like, you know, my team and I, we definitely taking it the farthest in terms of Hollister goes, you know what I mean? So,
and that's important, right? Like to just, I think a little bit, it's always been around, but the importance of just like bringing each other up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're all trying to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and so sometimes there's people out there that just want to hog the plate and hog the buffet, but just the importance of coming up together, you know, lending out a hand, and especially like in a small community like Hollister, San Benito, you know, and so that is very important. And let's get into like the groups that you're part of. I know you had mentioned that you're part of who was it, Black Bonsai?
Yes sir, yes sir.
And so who is that? How did you get involved? And what is it that you guys, how do you guys collaborate?
So, funny story, they actually kidnapped me, and no, no, low key, I ain't gonna lie. So Black Bonsai, the group that I'm a part of, man, it consists of, so right now it's a collective, you know what I mean? But the hip hop group, like, it consists of Laja, myself, Chiche, Jaylon or No Laje, Guwap Frank, that's our DJ, and he's also like, you know, got some bars as well. Our newest member, Saber, and the collective, you know, is additive of, you know, Jim Flowers and Sway Vision. So shout out to everybody, shout out the whole squad, and also, yeah, I was probably like about 17 when I actually like got introduced to the group, because like I said, I had been doing the music thing like solo, like my whole thing. So like I was already on the social media wave. I was already on like, you know, doing the shows, and like I was doing my own thing. I really got into contact with them. So there was an ad that was on Facebook. My mom had showed me, and it was like somebody had posted on Facebook like, oh, like this local group, like they're not bad for like, you know, some like local talent, like go check them out. They were throwing a show at the Veterans Hall. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go check it out. I was bored. I went. I was like, okay, like I see what they doing. I was like, that's fire. I was like, okay, like I rock with it, you know what I mean? Because I see like their energy. I see like the way that the reception of the crowd and everything. I was like, and I was just in the back posted. I was like, okay, I was like, I like that, right on. And after the show, I just DM Laja. I was like, hey, yo, like saw y'all show, y'all killed it. Good shit, whoopty whoop. He was like, yeah, he was like, I peeped a couple of your tracks too. He was like, I really like them. I was like, okay, right on. And I was like, you're from Hollister too, right? He's like, yes, sir. He's like, born and raised. I was like, all right, bro, much love, like salute, you know what I mean? And it was just like that term of like acknowledgement, you know, like, okay, I see you, you see me, I rock with you, you rock with me, all right, dope. And then from then on, you know, we just kind of kept like, you know, little bits of communication here and there. I was just like, yo, like, if you're down, like, you know, I think we should work on a track sometime. I was like, because I really like your sound. And I was like, I think we can make something dope. He was like, yeah, bro. He's like, and also like, you know, I make my own beats and stuff like that too. He's like, so whatever you need, like, you know, like let's lock something in soon. I was like, all right, bet. The first track that we ever did, it's still up. It's like it's a Mac Dre sample type beat. It's Get Stupid, and so we did that track together. I just forwarded him like some open sections of the song and stuff like that. He sent his verses back, and I was like, dang. I was like, he went off. I was like, okay, right on. And then he was like, yo, like we have this farmers market show coming up. Like we would love to like have you like open up for us, kind of a thing. And that was before Black Bonsai. So the group name that they were going under was Ferda. Okay. And so when they were still in that group, there's another member in there who's no longer part of this group now, but he was like, we would love to have you open up for us. Like, let's lock it in. I was like, all right, bet. So went, did the rehearsals, met the whole group, and I was like, okay, I'm rocking with everybody's vibe. Like, they seem like cool dudes, and I was like, all right. And then, come the day of the farmers market show, I ain't gonna lie, this is how I knew something was up. All right, because if you met any of the members, or specifically Glxtch, I'm on your head, boy. If you met Glxtch, he typically tries to play play like chill, like nonchalant, whatever. But something about that day of the actual farmers market show, he was like extra nice, and I was like low key like, bruh, like you a little like happy right now. I'm like, why you a little extra nice? So that kind of raised the brow before we even got to the spot. And then we did the show went cool, everybody was rocking with it. And then at the end of the show, they all come up and they're like, yo, like Elijah was like, yo, I'm gonna just cut to the chase, bro. He's like, I think you're dope as fuck. He's like, I really rock what you're doing, like, or what you got going on. He's like, how would you like to be a part of the group? And I was like, I'm like, I look at him and I'm looking at everybody. I'm like, bruh, stop playing with me. I'm like, I'm like, for real? I was like, you want me to be part of the group? And I look at Chi and she got this big ass smile. And I was like,
giving it away the entire
I was
day.
like, I knew you was happy for some fucking reason. I was like, I knew you was too happy. And then I was like, as soon as I saw Chi's face, I knew it was real. And I was like, all right, bet. And I was getting that dab up, and I solidified it, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm in now. Like, word up. I was like, okay, BB, I'm repping that. And then so that's how I really got in, and you know what I mean? That's kind of how it started, and we just kind of been rocking ever since. We had a couple little things, like, what I'm saying, like throughout the duration of the time that I've been a part of the group, whatever. Like for a while we had broke off and then we came back, like, on some whatever. And but yeah, no, I mean, it's been nothing but love and been nothing but like, grind and hustle since we all been together. And that's what I really like the way about that's what I really love about our dynamic too, is because we're all big fans of what we do, like individually. We're all fans of each other, and that's why it works when we come together, because like we genuinely rock with each other's sound, like you genuinely rock with each other's, like, something about somebody else, like we rock with that, you know what I mean? So when we come together, it's like it makes us want to bring out the best in one another. Yeah. And I have this story that I always tell Elijah too. I'm like, man, like I remember there was one track in specific that I heard from, it was from Elijah and Chi. It was called Gold Gods, and it was on Elijah's like older project. And I heard that track before I went to go see them live for the first time, and immediately I was like, these kids think that they want it? I'm gonna hop in the fucking studio right now. I'm gonna show them who really want that. I bullshit you not. Like, I listen to it, I turn it off, I get up, and I open up my laptop and I get straight to recording, because I'm like, yeah, nah, like they ain't gonna want it more bad than me. But like, just that little, like, I never felt that before. I never felt like just hearing somebody and being like, okay, like let me like get to work, you know what I mean? But then like it made sense when we all came together, because then when we actually like started like doing more studio sessions and stuff like that same energy carried on, because then it was like, you're in the studio now with these people, and it's like, all right, like, let me see who got the hardest verse, like, how they coming on this, like, all right, you know what I mean? And then you just,
so you guys push each other to like get better, and like,
exactly,
you bring out the best in each other,
exactly,
and I think that's very important, very key, right? Because like, how many times you got groups where like they fall apart, or they find success, but like there's egos and there's
And, there was like, like I said, like, we didn't have it, straightened out all the way neither. You know what I mean? We took a little hiatus from like, the group thing, whatever, or at least I did, you know what I mean? I had like separated myself from the group at some point for some months. And, just we decided to make it work, when we came back to it, you know what I mean? Because like after whatever it is that needed to get ironed out, after we got that out the way, I was like, all right, look, like, we're going to do it. Like, we're doing it right. You know what I mean? And we're going to do it to the fullest extent, because we all have the same common goal of like, we want to shed some light on the Central Coast. Yeah. You know what I mean? We want to shed light on the 831 specifically. And, that's why even with this project, the first project that I ever put out, my debut album, that's why I titled it Hollister Prodigy. You know what I mean? Funny enough, that's actually that used to be my Instagram handle too. So that's where when I was like 14, my Instagram handle was Hollister Prodigy at some point. So I was like, that was like a little nod back to that. But as far as how the group goes, that's how I got in. That's just like, what it's been since we've been rocking. So
there you go. And you kind of talked about like the farmers market. Yeah. Was that your first like public gig?
Nah, so I think I was doing shows with my uncle under his company, and so I was doing shows like at Christmas in the Park. I think my first ever show was at a church in San Jose. I don't remember exactly what the church name was called. I just know it was on like 30 Kirk Avenue in San Jose. That's all I know. But Or that's all I remember at least. Okay, so the first show, I want to talk about this a little bit because I feel like this is going to be some real game for any other artist that's listening that, you know, probably thinking that they struggling to get it figured out. Bro, I did not have it figured out. My first ever show, I'm at a church, dog. Let me reiterate that. I'm at a church. I am clearly not supposed to be cussing at a church.
Yeah.
But it's my first ever show. I'm about 14, you know, like about to turn 15 soon. And then this is how it really goes. I hop on stage. Like, I don't know why, man. In rehearsals, everything was fine. And like I can hear the beat, it was fine. But then when I got on stage, I don't know if it was my adrenaline or my tunnel vision, I couldn't hear the beat for nothing, dog. Like I could not hear like where I was supposed to be at. So I missed my mark. I forgot my lyrics. And on top of that, I cussed in front of like the main like church owner, like the priest or whatever, like the pastor or whatever. Cussed in front of him because when I got on stage, I was so hyped. I was like, what the fuck is that, San Jose? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, no. I immediately like, when the words come out, you want to catch them, but it's already too late.
It's too late.
Yeah, I'm looking into the crowd and I lock eyes with him and this dude is just giving me like the death stare. I'm just like, I am so fucking sorry.
I mean, like, did he not know that you were...
I mean, like he knew my age and like, but like, you know, at the time, I was very like PG. I was like very clean, you know, like I was Will Smith in it, like, you know, like for lack of better terms, like I was just keeping my, you know, music clean because I was doing a lot more family friendly events. So that's why if you look back into my earlier music, I have a lot more cleaner tracks. And it wasn't until a certain point where I actually started putting out like more music of just me being me, you know, me cussing like whatever. And, even, you know, on Instagram and stuff like that, I was keeping it like, you know, clean, like for the verses and like, you know, for the most part now I still like do, you know, but, I definitely back then was like a lot more afraid to kind of step out of my box and because of the types of events I was doing. So that first event, that first ever performance, that's how that one went. So like I learned, I was like, okay, I need to fucking rehearse. I need to get my stuff right and I need to not cuss in front of like pastors and priests and stuff like that. I need to not cuss in churches.
Just kind of know your audience and know where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, that was the first ever show I did. And then from then on, I was doing shows at like, you know, Boogie Fest, Campbell. So that was the Vets Hall show. That was the first show I ever went to go see of them. And then the first show that Elijah went to come and see me at was at the Campbell Boogie Fest. And that was, I believe, in 2023. And then, so he came out to see me then. And from then, that's kind of what put that, like, you know, kind of plant in his ear where he was like, okay, like, I like that. You know what I mean? I like a stage presence and that's cool. So, you know, I was already doing like shows and stuff like that prior, but that was the first show I did with them. And that first show I did with them, you know, eventually led into me like, you know, being a part of the group. And it was, you know, and now we're, you know, doing shows together and stuff. And I still like, you know, do my little stuff solo too, like, you know, like shows on the side and everything like that. Did a show with like Rucci out in San Jose and opened up for Baby Gas and Gilroy. So that was hella cool. But yeah, I mean, that was the first ever show that I ever did. I cussed in front out of church, and it was
Dang, I can only imagine that conversation afterwards.
Honestly, you know what? There was a conversation, but I left.
Okay.
Because like I cussed, and I was like, I cussed. I did the walk of shame. Okay, so I forgot to mention that too. So I cussed, and I was like, oh, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I forgot my lyrics. I am so sorry, everybody. Like, I literally gave a public apology and walked off stage. And my uncle is just like...
Can't have an Eminem moment.
Yeah, for real.
Moment.
I mean, yeah. And then I had to do the walk of shame. I apologized to the dude. I was like, hey, I want to say, first off, thank you for allowing me to come here and do this. Second off, I'm very sorry for cussing in your church. And he was like, it's okay, man. He's like, just, you know, try not to let it happen again. I was like, okay. And I walked out and I went home. And I almost cried myself to sleep because I was like, I hate that. I never want to perform again. And then I did. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think with anything that anyone does, you're going to have that moment.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a couple hiccups on this too. I mean, everyone's going to have it, but I think that's what helps you kind of get better.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Yeah. Because from then on, it really showed me the importance of like real, like dedicated practice, like showed me the importance of rehearsal. Now, like, I have my bare minimum of like time that I put in before a show, regardless of if I know my set well front to back or not. Like, no matter how well I think I know my set, I will still put in that amount of time to like rehearse because I want to avoid that moment again. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was my first ever show.
And take me through that. Like, now, experience the pre, right? How do you get your mentals right, your head right? What do you do like the day before, like, the moments leading up to you know, getting on that stage? What's that process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, the day before a show, I usually like to skydive. I usually like to get a little adrenaline rush and off.
Yeah.
But the day before a show or leading up to the show or any show, I make sure I rehearse. I make sure I'm taking care of myself. And make sure I'm hydrated, eating good. And I know it sounds like kind of like boring, bare essential stuff, but I mean it really comes down to it. I try to remove as many distractions as possible. I will dedicate again like time out of my day where I'm like, okay, like I'm not really taking calls. I'm not really doing nothing. I'm strictly focused on rehearsing. So I make sure I'm locked in and good for my set. So I make sure I give myself enough quiet time. And then before a show, it's important that I at least try to have some quiet time. And I try to like still kind of go over a couple like songs in my head that I may need like a little bit more polishing on. And then after that, go into a prayer for sure. Just ask God, to like protect me and guide me throughout the night, and pray for a good show. Pray that me and my people are good, and just get ready to go out and do the thing, and just give them all from there. But I believe that a good show always starts off in practice.
Yeah,
there was I think it was something that Nipsey had actually said. It was pretty much like, if you want your execution to be perfect, then that's your preparation needs to be. Your preparation needs to be, it's like your execution is only as good as your preparation. There we go. It's like, like your execution will only be as solid as the actual practice that you put behind it, before it actually comes a day to perform. And then so I really, from that first experience and then from hearing like, words like that, I take it to heart, and I'm like, okay. So that's why I'm locking in, just making sure I'm, rehearsing front to back, hours on end. And then, day of, make sure that I have everything that I need, make sure that my people are good. And then I'm like, okay, show mode. Like now it's time to go. So then that's pretty much how the preparation kind of goes.
There's this YouTuber that says this line. He's a competitive eater.
Yeah.
So it was like, win before you begin.
Yeah.
So you gotta, right? And then coming back from like a sports background.
Yeah.
We practice, right? But in order to win the game, you gotta have no practice is perfect, but a perfect practice is what's gonna get you the win.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So you gotta like ins and out. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Never cut corners and take what you need to do. So you got an album.
Yeah.
Right. Hollister Prodigy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that your first album?
First ever album.
Yeah. It's out on Spotify. If you haven't checked it out on Spotify, I was listening to it a little bit. I listened to the album yesterday during the week leading up to this, and let me say, you got a flow.
I appreciate that.
You do got a flow. Like I didn't know what to expect. Going into it, I'm gonna be 100% real. Like I wasn't not skeptical, but just like I've never heard. All right, let's see what it's about.
Yeah.
Now, the flow and your rhyming and your presence and what you're saying, it made sense, right? Because usually, you got some young rappers or people coming up where like they're rapping and they're whatever they're talking about, it's just like, well, that doesn't make sense. I was like,
like they just rhyming words.
They just rhyming words, or just like, what are you saying? What your flow? I'm like, all right, like okay, first song, and then I go to the second one, like, all right, he's flowing, like it's making sense.
Yeah. So
I like that about your style.
I appreciate
that. You rap, but you make sense.
Yeah.
All right, you're flowing. So take me through the creating of this album.
Okay.
All right. One, what was your inspiration? And just like that journey from like, all right, let's make an album to the album release.
Yeah. So throughout the creative process, man. All right. So first of all, I appreciate that. I definitely pride myself in actually trying to like make somewhat a sense of like whenever I'm writing, because like whenever I hear, other artists like, subject matters or like, just the flow of like the writing flow, I guess you could say, you know what I mean? Like it does sound a little off the walls, and mine at times does too. I'm not gonna, whatever, but I definitely pride myself in that and trying to just make it sound cohesive. And so in terms of the creative process for this album in specific, I didn't really know that I was actually gonna make an album. Okay. So I had this one track out, and it's called Act Right, and we shot a video to it. I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like, you know what? I think I just want to make a collection of music. Like I just want to make songs. Like I was just in that mode to like pump out as many songs and just see like how much I can like create, like, you know, of me just locking in the studio. And at the time, you know, I'm still fairly new in like producing and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So this album is all like self-produced by me. I engineered a few of the tracks on there, but most of the tracks are engineered by my guy Christian. Shout out to Christian. So throughout the creative process, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make a collection of songs, really. And after song 1, song 2, I was like, you know what if I just said fucking made an album? I was like, let me just try making an album. I was like, you know what, like, I don't gotta put it out. Like, you know, just taking the pressure off. I was like, let me just see, like, you know, what I could do. So I went ahead and I started just making song after song after song. And I was at the time very influenced by, you know, I like more so the Bay stuff. And I know like when people think Bay, they think more broader, you know, terms. Yeah. But I think when I think of Bay, I think of Pilo. When I think of Bay, I think of, you know, kind of like some like DB by the bag level stuff for sure. You know, I was definitely more heavily influenced by it. Shoot, who else throughout the making of that album? Oh, Jeezy was a big inspiration. YG too. Kendrick for sure. Kendrick's album GNX, that really like gave me some, you know, broader ideas as to like for the production styles and everything. So when I was making certain tracks, I was having like these types of people like in mind. So I already kind of knew more or less the type of bounce that I wanted to go for in terms of like my production. So I just went ahead, put together some songs, and I was like, okay, I'm liking the way that these are sounding. I think it'll sound dope if I like, you know, try to make something out of it. So that was really the creative process. It was just more kind of sporadic. It was more so I didn't know I was going to really make an album. I was just kind of like, let me put together a collection of songs. And by the end of it, those collections of songs ended up being like what makes the album. But I mentioned that first track in the beginning because that song, it was more so a last kind of like thought for me to put that. So I thought that was going to be a like standalone thing, but it ended up, you know, like I just said, you know, let me throw it in the album really quick. So the creative process was very much so just kind of me locking in my room, making a bunch of beats. I was like, oh, this is hard, me right into it. And that was honestly the first time like where, cause like I said, I was like still fairly new into producing and stuff. So when I was making these beats and I was like writing to them, I felt very proud of like being able to be like, yo, like I'm actually inspired to write from something that I created. Cause like, you know, typically I'm not the one that's doing the production, like, you know, so like I'm over here like actually making something, I like it enough, and I'm writing something and I'm liking it like that much more. Yeah. And it just grew like so addictive. Like I don't even know how to explain it. Like I just fell in love with the process so much that it didn't even feel like working on an album. I just felt like, let me make something that is gonna go crazy. And so I guess the whole inspiration with like that I took from these artists and stuff like that, it inspired me to want to make a whole project that you can kind of bump like when you like outside, like, you know, make some tracks that you can make when you bumping at a club, you know, type of tracks that you can bump when you just like riding down the highway with your friends, whatever, you playing it at a function somewhere. Like that was the type of vibe I was going for with this album, because initially the first album I put out, I wanted it to be more like self-reflective and stuff like that, which there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just my first album, you know, took a bit of a different turn, and I was like, you know what, like let me give them some party stuff, because it was around summertime too. Yeah. So around the time making the album, I think it was like like June, July-ish, around there.
Oh, this year?
Yeah, this year. Yeah, like so like June, July, maybe like May, late May or something like that. You know, and it took me. I just know I got the album done probably with like in a month.
Oh, okay.
The whole album was done front to back in about a month, and so I was like, okay, like. That's dope. I was like, all right, bet, because I wanted to put it out in time for summer. Yeah. And after I put the album out, I didn't even know that I was going to go on a tour. Like, I didn't know none of that at that time. Like, it wasn't until the album was fully completed did it even, like, occur to me that, like, maybe I could go on a tour off of this, because it's like, I want to, like, make people feel like what I'm rapping about. You know what I mean? Like, I want to go to a function. I want to go to a club and, like, hear my songs being played and, like, see, like, these people vibe to it. So...
it just happened so fast then.
Yeah, exactly. Like, bam, bam, bam. Exactly. It was just so sporadic. I was like, I didn't know the album was going to come out like that. I didn't know, you know, I was going to go on a tour. I just knew I loved what I was making and I wanted to maximize it.
Yeah. And you said like you completed it in a month.
Yeah.
And that's pretty quick. That's pretty quick. But it seems like, just by what you're telling me, that you got lost in it. And like you said, you fell in love. Did it almost feel like time kind of just stopped?
Yeah, yeah, you know? Like hella, because like, bro, I'm gonna be so for real, man. Like, a lot of people probably think now, like, if you know me, you probably think that like I'm inside like hella as is, but like that time, dude, I was locked in my room, like so locked in my room. So I was like, really not going out. Only time I would go out was to go grab some food, come back, get back to work. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was just the routine. So, yeah, I really felt like time stopped. It really felt like, yo, like, I'm here in this moment and I'm trying to make something that has, like, no skips on this. Like, you know, and if I'm being completely honest with myself, I feel like I almost got there with the no skips. But, you know, I feel like now I know what to, you know, consider for next time around. But being that it was my first album, I could definitely sit here and say I'm proud of what I made and what I brought out, because it was something that, you know, actually made me feel something. And I'm always big on that too. If it doesn't make you feel something, how are you going to expect it to make anybody else feel something or resonate with it? So that's why when I was making these songs, like, I was actually excited, because, like, it made me actually physically get out of my seat and like, you know, want to turn it up even louder.
There you go.
So then I was like, okay, cool. And now, like, being able to see, like, people, you know, vibe out when we do shows, I'm like, okay, I like that. But yeah, that was a creative process. It was just sporadic. I was just putting stuff together, and I was like, project.
There you go.
Yeah, project.
And you recorded it all in your room? Like,
all in my room,
like that's your studio right there?
Because I got the whole setup, you feel me? I got like my little monitors, I got my microphone, I got everything I need. And then shout out my lady too. She got me this like MIDI keyboard and stuff like that. And that's like, I was starting to mess around with it, because before I was using like the little laptop keys, which is, dude, it's so difficult.
Is it?
I hate it so much. Only because, like, at the time I didn't know jack about the keys like that. Like, I couldn't tell you where, like, you know, D sharp, whatever, or like certain chord progression. And even now I still don't know, but I'm like, I know a little bit more than I did back then.
Oh, for sure.
So now, like, back then I was like, okay, like, but I was learning a lot, like, throughout the process of that album too. I was learning a lot more about what actually goes into production. And now, you know, looking back on that album, I'm like, okay, I know how I like my beats to hit now. You know, just lots of improvements to be made from that project alone. But yeah, no, I just fell in love with the process. And I think that that's the most important part too, regardless of what it is that you're doing. Like, stop being so focused on the outcome of something and just really start falling in love with the process of it. Yeah. Because honestly, being able to fall so deeply in love and almost becoming obsessed with it is what's going to carry you a lot further, and especially throughout the triumphs. Because the whole time I could have been like, this song isn't it. This one ain't hitting. Yeah. But me falling in love with the process allowed me to be like, you know what? I like it. I love it. I'm loving what I'm making.
It's the journey.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I love the way that this makes me feel. I'm going to put it out, and I'm proud of it.
And I think that's important because, and I mention this a lot, I think this world, and I think that's why a lot of people don't succeed. And I could only imagine even in the, like I said earlier, like young rappers are coming up, they're just, it doesn't sound right, right?
Yeah.
But because people want the microwave effect.
Yeah.
Right? They want to put it in for 5 minutes and have hot ready meal already. Yeah. You know? But
I like that microwave effect. I never heard of that.
Yeah. So my dad told me about that, you know, growing up. He's always like, you're always impatient, or, you know, people that are impatient, it's like the microwave effect.
Wow.
You want dinner in 5 minutes, put it in the microwave, the hungry man dinner, you know, that's it.
Yeah.
But it's not good product. You know, you're not eating quality.
Yeah.
You want to have a good meal, man, you got to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get the ingredients. You got to you got to prep.
Yeah,
you know, do everything that the meal requires. And at the end, it's that process. Yeah. And at the end, that's what you get. You get the quality of food, right? So it's
no shortcuts.
Yeah, no shortcuts. And he's that's the one thing that he's always, you know, even now, it's like, dude, you stop with the microwave effect mentality. You know, you got to take it's the journey. I'm like, all right.
I like that. No, yeah, that's real. That's very real. You know, and that's why it's like, I think there's a difference though at the same time, you know what I mean? Because I hear a lot of artists say like, oh, like, you know, great art takes time. Man, you're just using that as an excuse to buy yourself some more time. Like at the same time. Yeah. Because like, don't get me wrong, like you can make a solid piece of a body of work, like a solid body of work, like in you know, if you just allow yourself to fall in love with the process, there is no right amount of time, you know what I mean? But, you know, you also can, you'd be amazed at what you can get done in like such a little amount of time, or what seems like a little amount of time, when you actually allow yourself to be fully immersed in the process. And I agree with you. The microwave effect, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, but hey, dude, that a month and you got that flow. Like I said, I love the flow. So from releasing the album, jump into touring right away.
Oof.
Dude, okay. I could only imagine, like, all right, I got the album. Hey, let's go on tour. What?
Yeah.
So how did you? When did you decide that you were gonna start going on tour?
Bruh, I didn't even really decide to go on tour till like I didn't decide to go on tour till like probably a week or a couple of weeks after or before the album came out.
Wow.
Yeah, because or actually, you know what? I lied. Probably like when the album was getting like wrapped up, you know, like after my engineer was like sending me back some final mixes, I was like, okay, I'm liking the way this sounds. I was like, okay, you know what, dog, these records hit. Like, I want to take this out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let me really show these people like what. Let me show people what Hollister's about. Let me show people what we got. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, let me put together a tour. I was like, let me go ahead and let me do that. So that was around the time, like I said, the album was being like finished with the process of everything. But around that time, I didn't really know, you know, I didn't know then what I know now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't know how much of a process it actually took to put together something like that, because as far as I know, out of the group that I'm a part of and everything like that, you know, and out of the other people that are in my age range that are also doing music, the other people that I mentioned, you know, and there's no shade. It's just like I'm the first one to really do a tour like that, and I'm the first one to put it together myself. You know what I mean? And so also shout out to my booking agent too. Shout out Baby Production. Shout out for Shirley. But yeah, so like I said, like I'm the one that's like, you know, putting it together myself. So it was a lot more of a, not difficult, but it was just more tedious of a process, you know, because lots of conversations, lots of back and forth, you know, and
negotiations,
a lot of maybes, you know, and don't get me wrong, man, like I've learned a lot of valuable lessons throughout the people that I came across, because obviously you come across some cool people and not so cool people, but the types of people that you come across regardless are always lessons to be learned, you know. It showed me more or less how to approach certain people, how to approach certain situations, and it also taught me a lot more so that your approach really matters a lot more than anything. Oh, my bad. But yeah, like you know, it showed me how delicate the approach process is, and you know, not to mess around with that. And so around the time when the album was being finished up, I was like, okay, you know what, let me see what I could do. Let me put together a tour. So I got a bunch of venues together that I wanted to go hit, went out to go hit them. Like I said, a lot of conversations back and forth. I was like, all right, like I'm getting a lot of some maybes, definitely like some no's, you know what I mean? But I'm also getting yeses for sure too, though. So I'm like, okay, let me focus on that. Then it was just a matter of, you know, locking in the dates. And then after that, I was like, okay, so I have some dates locked in already. Now let me start getting ready to do the rollout for the tour, because that's another thing is, I know it's an overused term, but like building hype. Yeah. Right. Like it's the run up that you use for everything, you know. So the run up for your album or for your song is important, you know, as well as everything that you do after the fact, you know, because you want to let people know what's about to come. You want to let people know what's out now, and you want to let people know what's about to be the next step after that. Yeah. You know, so really it was very quick because I'm promoting the album for like a week and a half or a couple weeks. Then boom, it's a tour, and then boom, it's one show, the next show, the next show, the next show. So I'm over here like having to promote.
It's all at once, just kind of hitting you, and you're just like, oh, you know.
And the cool thing is, like, I feel like I've been so overwhelmed so many times in the past, especially in terms of music. So, like, that overwhelming feeling, it's almost something that I chase it now. Like, you know what I mean? Because I realize that that's where the most growth comes from, is the discomfort feeling. Yeah. So, me understanding that, I was like, all right, I don't like feeling so stressed and like pressed for time, whatever, but I did it to myself. But now I know for the next time around, when I put out an album, I should give myself this much time just in case I want to do a tour. And then when it comes time for the tour, I should give myself this much time. You know what I mean? So it was a huge learning curve, but you know, it was, I think what also added to it was the other things that I had going on in my personal life that also like was really like starting to weigh on me. You know what I mean? Because music is, you know, obviously one aspect of it, but when you're also dealing, you know, with actual responsibilities, or where you're dealing with like personal things, it can definitely take a toll on you. And I feel like at that time I was really trying to like, I was pushing past it as much as I could, you know, without letting certain things affect me as much as I potentially could have let them, you know, because I definitely feel like I could have let a lot of things like drag me down and cloud my vision way more, but it would have just, you know, been doing nothing but stumping me in my growth. Yeah. So once I realized that I have a little bit more in my control, then I think that's what really gave me all the courage and the confidence to be able to push through and say, you know what, regardless of, you know, how uncomfortable in terms of like time, you know, crunch, whatever, like I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And that was just, you know, the thing that I did.
And at any point where you're just like, I mean, you can't really quit because like you're in the thick of it. Yeah. But at any point, did you have that like, dude, I just done. I just can't, because I could only imagine, and I feel that when you take on so many things, and you're right that sometimes you don't account for your personal life. Yes. Right. Yes. And some, you know, because they say, you know, you got to separate business and pleasure, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But sometimes those lines kind of cross, or they're very blurred
lines.
You know, so like, how did you overcome, like, you know, those moments.
It may sound crazy, man, but music, like, I'm gonna be so for real. Like, it's the music because you know what? Like, it gave me something to focus on, and it gave me something to do, and it made me again realize like how much like in control I actually am. You know, I was dealing with things at the time that, you know, like they really took a heavy like effect on me. You know, shout out my cousin Jay Pimpin. She got arrested around the time before I went on tour, and I wanted her to come on tour with me, and that really hit. You know what I mean? Because it was like, I love my family to death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I really want to show not just my city, but I want to show my family what's possible when we put our minds to it. You know, I want to show them that regardless, again, of what the background is or what we feel may have been set in front of us, like, we can overcome that, and we can make something like out of ourselves if we just put our minds to it, and we give ourselves a chance. That's another big thing. I feel like it's a lot easier for people to talk down on themselves before they even give themselves a chance. You know, I could have easily been like, you know what? Time ain't in my favor right now. I'm not gonna do the tour. I'm just gonna put the album out and just see what happens. And it's like, but then, you know, the things that have been coming my way, they wouldn't have been happening had I not given myself the chance. So I'm really strong on at least like giving yourself the chance. Like even down to the days that, you know, we wake up, it's like you may not have the best start, but you can decide how your day ends. Yeah. But you have to give yourself a chance to at least have a better rest of your day. You know, and that means recognizing what you have in front of you instead of, you know, only acknowledging the things that aren't going your way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like I said, like, so at the time it was my cousin getting locked up, you know, down in the county in Hollister. My other cousin, John Meza, rest in peace. He passed away about a few weeks before I went on tour. And, you know, that one was definitely a little bit different because another bit, I didn't mention this, I forgot to mention this earlier when you were asking me about my inspirations and everything, but a huge piece of my inspiration definitely came from my family because my brother, Rich, my older brother, and then my cousin John, and I have another cousin, his name is PJ, they all used to rap together in the back of my grandmother's house. And they had like this little garage area, and they had like the snowball mic set up, and, you know, they would rap together, and they didn't really, you know, as far as I know, I don't think they did any shows or it never really like got anywhere, but they had skill. I'll give them that. Like, they definitely had the skill, you know what I mean? And being so young, already knowing that like I was in love with music, hearing my family members do that, I was like, yo, like, oh, I could do it too. Like, they got the means to do it. Like, they're sounding crisp. Like, they're on the mic. Like, I could do it too. Yeah. And then that really hit because it's like, damn, one of my closest inspirations that really lit that fire in me to do something like that, showed me that like somebody could do, like, it's attainable, like, you could do it, passes away. And it's like, you know, I'm like, damn. And it was a lot more heavy hitting because, you know, leading up to his passing, and it was actually an article that it made the news in Hollister for sure. My cousin John, I won't get too descriptive, but, you know, he was found out of Chipotle and Hollister and everything like that. And, you know, before, you know, that unfortunate event, he had talked about, you know, turning his life around, and like, you know, he wanted to move out the city to like, you know, like give himself a chance. And then, you know, that happening, you know, like obviously sent, you know, the family into like to a state of shock a bit for sure. You know, and then my mom dealing with like, you know, her health issues as well. You know, my mom, you know, is a fighter of, you know, breast cancer for sure, you know, and she's coming out on top for sure. You know, mom's blessed. Absolutely. And around that time though, you know, it was like also dealing with putting in with, you know, because again, I'm a part of a group for sure. So it's like putting in for myself, putting in for the group, I'm putting in for my family, like, and I got these other things going around. And at the same time, balance is something that I've always like struggled with too, like in terms of music, like, because I get so caught up in like just the workflow that I forget to like take time for myself and, you know, get more involved with my family. And that's something that also like that I feel heavily too. And that's something that I've been trying to work on because, you know, I want to be there more, you know, and I want to be more involved, and nobody else is stopping me. It's just I get so caught up in what I got going on, and there's a lot of things left and right happening, and it's like I want to make sure that I'm on point for you know, what's to come. And it's like a lot easier said than done. So,
and it's hard sometimes because, like, I get it. Like you're personal, like it's the family, it's like your people closest to you that you're trying to help and support. But then you're also, you know, your business and what you're doing, And sometimes it sucks because sometimes in order to take care of the family, you have to, focus on the goal.
Yeah.
Right. And at the moment there might be some sacrifice, and it sucks sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But what I've learned is that in order to better help the family or whoever is your circle, you got to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
And doing what you're doing, but you got to also succeed, because if you succeed over here, you have the resources and the better means to support, help them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we forget that. I know it's such, it's not that you don't care, right? It's not that you don't love the family, but sometimes you gotta look at it that way. In order to help and succeed personally, you got to be able to like make some sacrifices and succeed over here.
Yeah, no, and that's something that definitely, my family grew a lot more understanding of for sure over the time. Because like I said, like earlier in the interview, it's like sometimes it takes a little bit of time for people to come around, and obviously, like me and my family, we're very close with each other. And so it's like when one of us isn't around not that often, it's not going to be, we're like, yo, where you at? And it's like, I had to let them know like repeatedly, it's like, it ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Like, I'm just over here trying to like focus on what I got going on, because like I really believe in this, and like I know like I could bring it home. Yeah. So it's like I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? And it's a lot easier said than done, for sure. But I hear you on that. Taking care of yourself, absolutely. And so that's why it's like that's a perspective I look at it. Whenever I catch myself being a little whatever, it's like no, like this is what it is. This is what I'm actually doing. It's but at the same time, those moments hit where it's like, wow, my niece, and especially with my beautiful niece and my nephew, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, wow, like time is only flying by faster, they only getting older. And it's like, so create those as many memories as you can, while you can, absolutely. Yeah. And I think what took a major hit before like any of this, man, was my grandmother, from the time where this interview will be released, it's last month will have been the 1 year since she's passed away. My grandmother, Clemencia Torres, passed away last year. And, obviously that was a big hit because that's my mom's mom, and I was close with her. I was very close with my grandmother, Ramirez, for sure, too. I felt like I was, no disrespect at all. I just felt like I was a lot closer with my grandmother Ramirez and stuff like that, just because I was over at her house a lot more, and like, that's where all my cousins came and everything like that. So, both of those, hit. But, obviously that one being a lot more recent, it took a little bit of a different toll, because at that time I was letting go of a lot. Like, I was in therapy around that time, and I decided, I was like, you know what? I feel like I've worked on my perspective enough to be able to say, like, I can let go of therapy and be like, I can handle this on my own. Yeah. And, just life, like just life, like it's not really anything new. It's not, anything that anybody's really like new to, whatever. It's like, you deal with losses, you deal with struggles of the imbalance at times, and you deal with getting in your own head. But again, giving yourself that chance to be able to look at it from a way different perspective, giving yourself that chance to have a better rest of your day, and also giving yourself a chance to thrive. Because again, like, dating back to what we had mentioned earlier in this interview, me feeling like that from a very early age, where I felt like the world was against me because of the way certain things panned out or what wasn't working for me. It's like, I realized, like, no, like, I could sit here and play the blame game all day to try to make myself feel better, but the only thing that's going to really make me feel good is coming out on top. And, turning my situation around and turning my day around, you know what I mean? And, spending as much time with the people around me as much as I can, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, but also, like you said, still bringing it home, still succeeding, so that way you can help boost your people to the best of your ability. Yeah. And, especially, in the brown community as well, it's like, with everything that's been going on as of recently, it's like, that's all what a lot of, young Mexican Americans and just Mexicans in general, that's what we're trying to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? We just want to be able to help provide for our families, you know what I mean? Because they've done so much for us that it's like, we want to take care of you, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's going to come with some sacrifice. It's going to come with some time away, but know that I'm here regardless. And that doesn't mean that I love you any less. It just means that I'm taking care of this for us. Yeah. You know what I mean? For sure.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to mom, dude. Shout out to your mom.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Your son right here. Shout out to you.
Shout out, mama. I love you, mama.
That's just amazing, man. Just I feel it.
Yeah,
I feel it. And during all this time, you're at tour and you're dealing with this. How is the tour still going on?
Yeah, so by the time this interview will come out, the tour will be done. But this Friday, well, from the time that this interview is being recorded, this Friday, Salinas, California, Heirloom Pizza. That's the last stop of the tour, and then after that, I got some bigger stuff popping out. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, that's tour's pretty much done. And then as of right now, we'll be going on my boy Elijah's tour. So the Bird Brain tour, we'll be on that.
Okay, and out of all the cities locally, you kind of visited and
I try to visit as much of the 831 side as possible, but like I said, it's like
sometimes it takes you.
Yeah,
you gotta roll with it.
But I honestly shout out the 408 though, like because I got love for the 831 and the 408. You know what I mean? I'm an 831 baby for sure, but 408 shows a lot of love. So like shout out to Gilroy, shout out to San Jose. You know what I mean? For surely, like they always show the most love, and I love that. And my hometown too. It's dope. I love Hollister, and I love being able to just, walk out the 831 mob out. But yeah, like for my tour in terms of that, like I just going wherever, you know what I mean? Just but mainly like locally and stuff like that too.
The 831 used to be 408, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of
So we're kind of still for,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Love the both though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? A little bit more division now, but it's cool. No, but for my tour for sure. I wanted to keep it not so 831 based, but I just wanted to keep it like, show more love to the 831 for surely, you know what I mean? But hey, 408, y'all know how to get down, man. Come on now. Shit. Yeah.
You got to go where the where it flows.
But and that's my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off. But like that's the thing too, like how, because I know like we have mentioned it, we were conversating, before the camera turned on and everything. It was like being able to shine more light, on the locals, and being able to shine more light on like just the 831 period, you know what I mean? And that's why I really rock with what you got going on, because it's like
thank you.
That's definitely the same thing that me and the groups that I'm like in cahoots with and everything like that. That's what we're striving to do, the same thing as well, just shine more light, because
there's talent out here.
Absolutely. And it's so easy to overlook it, I mean, one, because of social media, absolutely, but again, shout out to my team Black Bonsai, shout out to Death Deserve, shout out to the Underdog, shout out Danny V, shout out Alden, shout out Iron Chef, shout out Arsoul, you know what I mean? Like the whole Underdogs team. It's like groups like this, you know what I mean, showing out for the Central Coast and showing people that like, hey, like we got juice over here too, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, look out. Yeah. But yeah, no, shout out to and salute to what you got going on, because I really love that and respect that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And what's been the funnest thing about being on tour? You're going through these different cities. People are rocking, are vibing. Yeah. I'm pretty sure like, I gotta come out.
Absolutely,
but like, what's been your favorite part of this
Sheesh.
first tour?
Sheesh. Let me say, man, the whole tour experience, I love it. Like, you know what I mean? Because again, a lot of lessons to be learned, but bro, the reception, because it's one thing to turn up in my room and be like, damn, I rock with this, but then when I go out there and I'm seeing people go like, yo, like we rock with this, I'm like, oh word, I'm like, say less. Like I love that. Like the reception is like the best feeling, because it just reinforces like, oh yeah, like I'm doing it right, you know what I mean? Like, and I love that, because like I'm not gonna sit here and be like I necessarily like chase like validation or nothing like that, but shoot, you'd be lying if it said it doesn't feel good to have your work be acknowledged and people to respect that and people to like show love to that, because I mean it's like, I mean, that it's just, it reinstates that like you're on the right path. You know what I mean? And so I would say the reception has definitely been the most. I love seeing people actually get out of their seats and actually like physically respond to that, you know what I mean? And even seeing other people that I respect too, like, like rock with the stuff that I got going on, like much love, like, you know what I mean? Because like I said, like from artists in my city to like, other artists that are like, you know what I mean, like, rocking with it, big shout out to Baby Gas, man. I'm gonna say that right now. Like huge shout out to Baby Gas, like super cool dude, super genuine, you know what I mean, showing nothing but love. That show that we did out in Gilroy was super dope, and shout out to his team, and shout out Overflow as well. This that's where we did the show out in Gilroy at.
Nice.
Shout out to the owner, shout out Chris, man. But yeah, it's just seeing the reception on tour, man, it's been beautiful. It's been amazing. So I would say that.
And out of your whole album, you're out there touring for the album. What's been like the song that people are the I mean, I'm sure everyone's getting up, right? But which one's the one song that like people are just like,
Okay, it's crazy. It really depends on where I go, but if I had to like pinpoint it, I would say low key. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong too, man, because everybody got their favorites. You know what I mean? But like, I would say Two Step.
Two Step.
and Give You This off the album has definitely been those two. I would say the main three that I see get people moving is Two Step, Give You This, and Been On.
Okay.
So those are the three that I feel like get people moving. And then when I do shows out in the 831, and the 831 anthem also like gets people rocking. But I noticed that people really love to listen to Like I Ain't. And I really love that too, because like that was more like a little bit more personal, and I like that, you know what I mean? So, but function wise and like when I'm out performing, I'd say Two Step and like Give You This and Been On for sure. Those are like the main three where everybody's like, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. All right. Come on, yeah.
And what's out of all the songs that you have on that album, what's the one that you love? What's your favorite one that you worked?
Damn, I was hoping you were gonna ask me that.
I was leading up to it. I mean, there's so much to choose. You know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Shoot, man. My personal favorite. You put me on the spot, man. Shit. Yeah. All right. Okay. Damn. And I can only choose one, right?
Let's say if you were to define your first album.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. You're defining your first album.
Yeah.
And just kind of like that journey.
Like what song better represents it? Kind of. Okay, but if I really had to say what song better represents it, I would say Like I Ain't for surely, because it encompasses when the lead up builds like to the beat. I'm not sure if you heard that track, but like to Like I Ain't, like it's the lyrics are very heartfelt. You know, I'm talking about, you know, the real pressures that I'm kind of feeling, and like, you know, more so like the what's going on more on my mental, but then also it's delivered with a very heavy hitting beat that, like, you know, very much so encompasses the type of energy that you expect, you know, from what you heard in the album, but also what you can kind of expect, you know, here on after, because it's like, you know, like, hey, like I'm gonna let y'all know, like I've had people try to overlook, you know, what I'm putting in. I had people try to overlook the music and the work ethic, whatever, but regardless of how they're trying to say, or whatever they're trying to say and however they're trying to paint me as, regardless of that, I'm still going to push through and I'm still going to keep going hard because that's all I know how to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Like I Ain't definitely encompasses that. But I also feel like 831 Anthem really encompasses that as well, because I mean, Hollister Prodigy, but also it shows like, hey, we know how to get lit too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, like we got that energy, we got that juice. So it's like, you know, come rock with us.
I think the 831, if I'm not mistaken, you know, people let us know in the comments. What's unique about the 831, and then my experiences growing up, is because every single major city has their own style, their own flow. You got the Bay Area, you got ATL, you got, you know, Florida, you got the trap music, you got a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like the 831 takes up everything.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, because we're central.
We're central. Like, we take of the Bay Area, we take of the New York, we take of the
East Coast.
East Coast. Like,
it
almost feels like I don't want to know what the name is, you know, what we would name it, but like we're so influenced by everything around us that we create this own vibe, this own style.
And I love that. And see, you worded it like the best way ever, because like that's really what it is. And it's like, you know, like, like we're so central that it's like north, south, east, west, we influence, you know what I mean? Like, and I love that. And obviously I feel like we're definitely more heavily West Coast inspired for sure, but like I definitely hear the influences, because even in the group that I'm a part of, you know, Jaylon's way more of like East Coast, like he's more East Coast influence. I'm way more West Coast, you know what I mean? Elijah definitely kind of got a little bit more of I mean, shoot, he got more just like a different swag for sure. Chiche's more like R&B-ish, like, you know what I mean? So it's like we all each individually have our own styles, but then also it's like everybody, every group, every collective, every artist, like, you know, it's beautiful to be able to pull influences, you know what I mean? But it's also beautiful to be able to put your own twist on it and show people like, hey, like, though I got influences, this is what I got going on. You know what I mean? And I love that. I feel that. Yeah.
You guys got an album?
Yes. Yeah, so we got a few. Or right now, okay. Shoot. By the time this by the time this podcast comes out,
hold on, let me look at the date. What did I say? They were
the 5th.
The 5th. There you go.
5th of September. So as of right now, Black Bonsai, we got Your Auntie's Playlist out. That was our first ever album, and then we got Fam FM, that stands for All My Future MILFs. And then we working on something. I'll just say that. I ain't gonna say what it's called or nothing like that, but we working on something for the people. So that's Black Bonsai's tape that we're coming together with. And then
the 8th. It's coming out on the 8th.
Oh, coming on the 8th?
Yeah.
Okay, bet. All right, bet. So it'll probably be out later on, maybe later on this year, I think. Maybe early next year. So we'll see. But yeah, we got one cooking right now. Right now we're mainly just kind of being on the road and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Doing more shows and stuff. So, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And personally,
Yeah.
what you got coming on? Like albums out. You're gonna be finishing up tour by the time this episode comes out.
Yeah.
Are you gonna jump back into the studio? You kind of take a little break.
Oh yeah, big studio mode. I've been working on some dope stuff, and I got some other stuff cooking for Shelly, and like with some bigger acts. And I can't speak on who it is, but I'll say as of right now, we got something cooking up with some artists out of Detroit.
All right.
Some like Detroit legends and shit.
Okay.
So like yeah, again, shout out my booking agent. Shout out David, man. But yeah, we got that cooking, and then right now I got some. Should I say this right now? Okay, yeah, I got something cooking with I'll say this with somebody I opened up for. I'll keep it vague like that. Okay. Yeah, somebody I opened up for, and then also
I won't ask you who you opened up for. Keep that suspense, but
oh yeah. I only mentioned one, but I also opened up for Rucci and San Jose too at Tiki Pete's.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was dope too. That was honestly, again, they know how to turn it up out there. You feel me? So I love that. But yeah, just mainly some more shows, some dope tracks coming along the way for Shelly. And
is that pressure when you're to know that you're gonna work with some heavy hitters in Detroit?
Yeah. I mean, for Shelly, man, you out your mind if you say there ain't no pressure, man, because it's like I gotta bring it. You know what I mean? I gotta bring it. But like, what I love about that though is like, especially out in Detroit, man, like, yo, they got like. They're bar heavy. That's what like low key like not intimidates me, but that's what makes me like I gotta get up on my pen game because like they're so bar heavy out there, man. And I feel like I pride myself, like you mentioned, like more so like the flow, just how to ride the beat. You know what I mean? Like bars too, yeah, but like it's more so the vibe, the feeling. But like out there, they're like, yo, listen to what I'm saying, and I'm like, I gotta go practice some more, man. I was like,
well, like you said, like that pressure.
Yeah.
Get comfortable with getting uncomfortable because that's how you're gonna grow.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, also, I'm gonna be heading out to LA in November. I'm gonna be doing a show out in Whiskey A Go Go, so that's gonna be dope too. So I'll be out in LA in November for sure. And then end of the year, we just putting together some more bigger ones. But for the end of this year so far, that's what it's looking like.
All right.
But more stuff to come. So make sure y'all follow me on the gram for all the updates and stuff. Young Glitch, YUNG, man.
There you go. There you go. So, with all this that's going on, right? It almost feels like it's happening fast, but it's happening at a good pace, right? And so, yes, we talk about music. Music is your outlet. Music is your getaway.
Yeah.
But aside from music, what does Young Glitch do to kind of just decompress and just recharge?
Honestly, man, if I told you, I don't know if you believe me. I'm gonna be real. All right, I'm only saying that because like. I really pride myself on a heavy like morning routine. I love waking up early, like at least no later than like 4:20 a.m. I like going on runs. I like to just go on little jogs. I love meditation. I love prayer. You know what I mean? That's just my thing. I'm gonna be real. I haven't read the Bible like all crazy, but my relationship with God, is still very much so there, so very much so prevalent. You know what I mean? So I love being in a meditation. I love getting into prayer. I love just overall taking a little bit care of myself. Journaling for sure. Like I said, just love writing. I also love to just work on different other things too. Like right now, I'll say this. So right now I'm kind of working on a little bit of like a book. You know what I mean? And I'm working on a couple of them. And I just love writing, different things, but a couple books is what I also kind of got cooking up. I don't necessarily know when they're going to be out, but I'm just working on some books right now and just kind of opening up about certain things, and working on refining the writing a little bit more,
the journey.
Yeah, exactly. The journey. Yeah. And so I would say those. And then obviously, just love to just kick it with the people, man. Just love every now and then probably go out, go dance a little bit. I love to dance. I ain't gonna lie, I love to dance. Like that's my thing. Shout out Brass Tap and Hollister too, man. We be popping out there, sometimes after a show, just getting our little jig on. You feel me, doing the thing. So, but in San Jose too, we be getting jiggy out there too. Everywhere we go, man.
Yeah, come on, gotta enjoy it.
I love dancing, so I'll say dancing is probably for sure. And what's dope is my mom. My mom used to dance like hip hop like crazy, you know what I mean, and like I said, so that uncle that I mentioned earlier that owns his own dance company.
Yeah.
That's my mom and my uncle used to like, you know, dance together. And I think some of her other siblings, like most of my uncles and aunts, they dance, you know what I mean? But not like to that extent. But my mom used to actually go compete. And like, yeah, and with my uncle and stuff like that. So back when my uncle was still building up his company and everything like that, like they would actually go out and compete with their teams and stuff like that. And from what I heard, my mom was bodying a lot of y'all moms. I'm just gonna say that right now, man. One of y'all moms probably stepped to my moms, bro. Probably lost. I'm gonna be real, but like, yeah, like she definitely like got that.
She was out there serving people.
Oh yeah, like you know, man, I wish they had like some of the recordings or something like that, but like. Because now you look back and the quality's all like pixelated. It's like Minecraft. I'm like, man, I can't see what y'all doing, man. Like y'all just, I don't know. But no, yeah, it's dope. So dancer for sure. I let it go dance. That's my thing. I low-key want to get more into like, I want to start bringing more dancing, like one to the stage, but I want to start bringing just more dancing to my music overall. You know what I mean? Because growing up, man, I forgot to mention this as well, but I had major influences by like Pitbull, Chris Brown. You know what I mean? Like. Usher for sure, like you know what I mean. So it's like people like that who showed me more of like the pop realm. I was like, yo, like I really like that, and I always love dancing. So it's like just makes sense. So try to bring more of that out.
There you go. Just to bring some dance choreography into one of the music videos one of these days.
Oh yeah, for sure. You like to dance at all or like?
You know what? I could get down. I
Yeah.
mean, people know what's up. You know, if you know, you know.
Oh okay.
But I mean, I love me a little bit of bachata, some salsa,
I feel like those are the harder ones for me to learn how to dance to because I'm gonna be for real. I'm more, like I said, like, well, when it comes to dancing, I feel like more hip-hop influence. So I only know, like, the hip-hop types of beats. I don't really know how to get the steps down like that.
It's just all in the hips.
I got the hip movement, but I don't know, bro. Y'all be like, y'all feet be moving too fast. I'm like, man, where's the two steps at? Right. I'll leave it at that.
And I like a little bit of line dancing. You got those, like, songs, like Keep It Shuffle. Like, you got the El Payaso, the Caballo, the little...
Oh, yeah.
So... I get down here and there, not too often, but when I do,
hey man,
I do.
We about to go hit the club right after this podcast, man.
Let's go. I know a DJ, so so we come to the show, right? And we, everything that we've talked about, people have heard, and I mean, we could get into like advice for young rappers, but what is your advice? What are your words of wisdom that you want to leave people with? That like they watch the show, they get to know you, they see who you've become through this episode, and as your hip hop rap journey continues, well, what do you leave people with? What is your piece of advice?
My piece of advice, man, is you are way more impactful than you give yourself the credit for. Give yourself a lot more credit for the things that you have overcome and the things that you continue to do, the things that you continue to push past, man. A lot of people, have their own struggles that whether they speak about them or not, like they feel them. And just want to let everybody out there know that, like I said, your impact is going to be felt. It's up to you to decide how big your impact is, though. You know what I mean? But regardless, you're going to have an impact around the people around you. Yeah. You're going to have an impact in the people that you meet. And, it's up to you to decide what kind of impact that you want to leave them with, and that's I understand it's a lot easier said than done, especially when you have your own trials and tribulations that you're dealing with. But regardless of what it is that you're facing, realize that God wouldn't put you through nothing that he wouldn't feel that you're prepared to deal with. So, realize that you're a lot stronger. You have a lot more power within you than you give yourself the credit for. And just continue to thrive, continue to strive, and continue to, push yourself to become a better version than the version you were yesterday.
There you go. And I wanted to ask, before we ended it, if we get a little bit of a freestyle.
I'm with it.
A little bit of a freestyle.
Okay.
So people kind of know who haven't heard you before, who could kind of like, all right, let's see, what do you got?
Yeah.
So right here, we're about to have a Hello Guy podcast freestyle with Young Glitch.
It's funny. I had why did I have a feeling that this was going to happen, but like, I didn't want to I don't want to get my hopes up, but I bet I'm with it. All right, now?
I mean...
Oh, okay, my bad. I blanked out. I was just like, all right.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have any beats or anything on here, but like,
it's all good. Shoot. Okay, let's see this. Started off as a kid. I was knocking on the door. Growing up a little bit now, I'm really on tour. kind of crazy how quick then everything done changed. Now I'm on the stage and people screaming my name, but I'm like, yo, God, thank you so much for the blessings and beautiful lessons. Despite how many times I may have been stressing, I now realize that it was all for a bigger purpose, and that's why I continue working all off of the top of the mind, but still I'm still searching on the inside. Divine rhymes is all that I'm kicking. Freestyle living, El Local podcast, you know how we kicking. Gotta keep it lit for the people in the city. Gotta keep delivering rhymes that are so gritty. It don't really matter what you saying about me, because regardless, I'ma keep pushing. My city's still gonna be rowdy. You know that we gonna turn it up with every function we step into. It don't really matter, boy, you know what we get into. I almost messed up on the flow, but let me keep it simple. When I'm on instrumentals, best believe it get detrimental. Flow is like the water. Play with me, get slaughtered. Tight to hop up on the stage, I might just steal your wife or your daughter, or maybe both of them, just for the fuck of it. Man, why you on my motherfucking tip if you ain't sucking it? Hop off. Man, you know that I got bars that'll leave these rappers dropped off. I drop bombs on every single rhyme that I hop on. I mean, every single beat. Play with me, I'll leave you 6 feet. Put your favorite rapper face up on a white tee. Ain't nobody as like me, it's highly unlikely. I've been in the right scene ever since I was like 3. Man, this is all that I've ever known. Freestyle flow coming straight off the dome. A local podcast we on.
You guys heard it right here. Young Glitch.
That was crazy. I literally just thought of that. Anybody who comes at me and says, man, that got to be written. No, it wasn't, man. Shout out. I love that, though.
Right
Shout
here,
out to you,
authentic, just off the top of the dome.
Yeah.
There we go.
I was really inspired by the conversation we just had, too. So, yeah.
There we go. Man, I think, yeah, man, this was great. I'm glad that we got you on here. You know, where can people find you? Let people know where you at, where your album's at. You know,
you can find me anywhere that you get all your music at: YouTube Music, Spotify, Deezer, iTunes. You know what I'm saying? YUNG Glxtch. Much love to El Local Podcast for having me on. Shout out to Eddie for having me on.
Thank you.
Pleasure, brother. Hell yeah.
I appreciate it, guys. You guys heard it here. Young Glitch, go check him out. Bright future, a lot of great things coming. Thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
All right, guys. Well, I'm in awe. I'm in awe of this conversation. So, Young Glitch, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay tuned. Peace out. God bless.
Damn, I try to hit the yee, but